Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Daisy with a Z. So this is an academic video, and in this video I show you the tricks on how to write a winning or an A+ assignment or academic paper. I really hope you enjoy. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Let's go straight into the video. So there are three main things you must remember. The things you must do first. Number one, you need to read the question. Number two, read the question again. Number three, try to think what the real task or what the real question is. What is expected of you in this very task? So let's begin. So your introduction must have three main parts. These three parts you cannot do without in an introduction. Number one, you need an opening hook. So this one is a situation where you try to captivate the reader or the marker or the potential reader. You try to bring out something that will bring people to actually want to read your work. Then number two, you need to provide a brief background within your introduction, just a brief background of what you're trying to talk about. And then the punchline. The punchline is that statement or that sentence that tells us exactly what your point is. Are you agreeing? Are you disagreeing? Are you analyzing? Are you discussing? You need to let us know exactly what you are out to do. So let's take an example. Let's say your question is, anthropogenic activities are the leading causes of climate change. Agree or disagree? So such questions are very confusing because some people will be rambling throughout the paper, but then you need to ensure that you know what you're expected to do. So in this regard, agree or disagree. Introduction could look like this. Climate change has adverse impacts on the Earth's planet and human life. Today, debates exist in regards the major causes of climate change, which range from natural, human, and even unknown causes. This paper agrees or disagrees to the notion that anthropogenic activities are the leading cause of climate change. So you need to tell us in the introduction what your view is. Are you agreeing or you are disagreeing? You need to state it right from the beginning. Please ensure that your introduction does not have any definition of key terms. Like, do not define any key terms in the introduction. That means the introduction, you should not cite and you should not quote unless it is according to the instructions by your supervisor or the lecturer. Okay, let's begin with the main body. So your main body is where you have to prove yourself. This is where now you have to tell us exactly what we are trying to look for in your paper. So number one, ensure that you decide on your referencing style. There are different referencing styles, and I'm going to make a separate video on that. So ensure that you look at the prescribed referencing style by your lecturer or your supervisor or whatever. The second thing is that you do not need to personalize academic essays. You do not have to use words like I, like me, unless it is also allowed by your marker. This is very important. You need to understand what your marker wants from you. The third thing is that in the main body, the first paragraph of your main body must have the definition of key terms. So remember I said do not define in the introduction. So your introduction should only be one paragraph. So the next paragraph, meaning that is where your main body begins. So you begin now by defining the key terms, meaning you're actually going to bring in citations because those are not your definitions. So the next thing you need to ensure that your work is aligned, like align your points properly. Let your argument or your thoughts flow systematically. Do not just have cantankerous work. Okay, let your work be in order based on the way the thoughts are actually flowing. Then the next thing is you need to provide enough evidence to support your line of thought. If you are agreeing, what is literature saying? If you are disagreeing, what is literature saying? What have the other authors or others said about what you're trying to look at? Why are you disagreeing and why are you agreeing? You need to provide a lot of evidence, meaning you need to cite, quote, cite, quote, cite, quote. You also need to ensure that it's okay to an extent to provide a counter argument or thoughts based on what you actually think without personalizing. Ensure that you do not personalize academic work. Do not forget to cite, do not forget to quote. So I'm going to make a separate video on how to cite and how to quote, together with also the referencing styles. So these are the main things that your main body must take into consideration. Now we go to the conclusion. So you've done your work, you've told us whatever you're agreeing or you're disagreeing, you've brought out literature, you've argued here and there. Your conclusion must be in sync with your introduction. These must not be antagonistic, because it means that your work is not aligned. It means that you have been just daydreaming the whole time. So your introduction must be reflected in your conclusion. Then in your conclusion, you also need to tell us your own thought now, without saying the I and the me's. You need to tell us what is your stance on the matter. So you also need to ensure that in the conclusion, just like your introduction, you do not cite, you do not quote. This should be purely your own work. That is why you cannot plagiarize whatever, for whatever reason, in the introduction or in your conclusion, unless you're just a problematic student. Then the next thing is that you need to remind us what your stance is or was. Were you agreeing? Were you disagreeing? And then finish with a very strong statement, like a very strong sentence that I'll go away with just thinking, say your work was very good. Now we come to the last page of our assignment, which is the referencing page. So the different types of referencing styles: we have the Harvard referencing style, which is very common. We have the APA, which is the American Psychological Association. We also have the Modern Language Association, among others. So you need to ensure that you follow a specific referencing style as prescribed by your lecturer, your advisor, your marker. Please, here are the things you need to remember. Number one, remember to have a very good cover page, because that will be captivating enough. Ensure that your introduction is good, brief, and straight to the point. Ensure that you justify your paragraphs. Let them look smart and neat. Ensure that your main body is very comprehensive and you have a very powerful background. Then choose the correct referencing style that you're going to run with from the beginning till the end, consistently running with one referencing style for your work. Then importantly, do not plagiarize. I'll do a separate video on plagiarism. So please do not plagiarize. Then most importantly, please submit your work on the prescribed due date. I'll see you in my next video.